We'll have all of that and more coming up in our hour. But first up on Last Call, one of the most bizarre hours ever in Wall Street history. That would be Roaring Kitty's highly anticipated return to the live stream. Truly weird stuff today. Keith Gill, otherwise known as Roaring Kitty, finally spoke after a years-long disappearance. Gill showed his position of 5 million GameStop shares and 120,000 call options that expire June 21st. At one point, more than 650,000 people tuned in to see him speak in a fake sling and bandages. Not clear what that was all about. He giggled, he joked, he poured himself a beer, and he said he still likes the stock and shared his feelings about CEO Ryan Cohen's leadership. Here's what he said.
It becomes a bet on the management, you know, in particular, of course, Ryan Cohen. Probably going to be an ongoing debate as to how people feel about him, whether he can successfully transform that business. This guy might be able to do it, right? That's not a guarantee. This is the same thing as before. I mean, I'm not promising anything, but over the long term here, I think he seems like the type of guy. He seems like he has those characteristics, and the way he approaches this seems like he might be able to do this.
I wasn't kidding when I said weird. He also said his positions are his and his alone.
The positions that I posted, those are my only positions. There's no other positions. There's no other folks I'm working with. You know what I mean? It's like pretty similar to last time.
Investors, well, apparently they're not impressed. As all of this was playing out on YouTube, shares of GameStop tanked, so much so the stock was halted 17 times today. According to the NASDAQ, that's the largest number of trading halts since January of 2021, when the first GameStop mania actually peaked. GameStop started the day in the red after the company unexpectedly posted lackluster earnings and announced it would sell an additional 75 million shares. All of that is weird. But wait, there's more. In an even weirder twist, low-cost airline Frontier jumped on the bandwagon. The company posted on X, quote, "We love animals, especially kittens," pausing sales at 12 Eastern to watch Roaring Kitty. And on their website, quote, "What headband should we put on? Rory the kitten. Rory the kitten. Red or beige?" Frontier stock spiked leading into the stream. Then it lost attitude. Do people really buy an airline stock because a meme lord wore a bandana on YouTube and drank a beer? What should anyone make of all of this? And what on earth is going to happen next? Well, let's bring in our expert panel. CNBC reporter Kate Rooney, former SEC enforcement attorney and Vincent and Elkin's partner Rebecca Fike, and finally, one-time short seller, CNBC contributor, and Wall Street Beats co-founder Herb Greenberg. Thank all of you for being here tonight. Rebecca, I want to start with you because I think a lot of people were watching this weirdness today, and the big question on everybody's mind is, like, is any of this legal, or how close to the line can he get with all of this? Former SEC Chair Jay Clayton gave us a statement about the stream and Keith Gill's actions. He told us, quote, "With this large a stake and this much influence on the market, if the SEC is not taking steps to ensure Kitty is telling the truth, I could see other regulators, including state attorneys generals, stepping in." Is anything Roaring Kitty did today anywhere close to being illegal? Or, Rebecca, is all of this just fair game in the social media era? What do you think?
So thanks so much for having me. And those are some great questions. So if everything Roaring Kitty said, which just even saying Roaring Kitty repeatedly already just adds the absurdity to this entire story. But if everything he said today is true, in that he is only trading his own positions, there aren't other accounts, he's not working with others, there's nothing he isn't disclosing, it's entirely possible that this is completely legal. What's difficult, and why I'm certain the SEC has already opened an investigation, is they can't take him at his word for that, because these are clearly market-moving events. The stock price is being affected by him showing his positions. And if there are, other accounts he's trading in, if there are other people who might be benefiting from this that he's working with, that would certainly be illegal. And even if he's not, market manipulation itself is a violation of the securities laws. In this new world where you can have access to investors through social media, if the company's fundamentals and nothing else about the stock supports these price moves, and it's just someone like Roaring Kitty making public statements, it's possible the SEC may try to find a way to act there.
Rebecca, let me ask you this. I mean, that squares, that makes a lot of sense, right? If there's nothing else that we don't know, just on the surface, what we saw today would seem to be legal. It is not illegal to show people your portfolio. It is not illegal to say you think a stock has a great future. All those things happen all the time, just not with meme lords like this. But I wonder, this scenario was so weird today because as he was talking, sort of disappointing the market, the stock tanked, right? I mean, it was down nearly 40% today. If Roaring Kitty posts that he is going to address the world about this stock and gets everybody focused on it and excited about it and knows that he is going to disappoint the market because he didn't really have nothing new to add, if he shorts the stock on that, Rebecca, is that insider trading in some way? Is that market manipulation if that had happened? I'm just trying to understand the rules here.
I think we all are honestly. I would say, yes, that's certainly potential insider trading. If you engage in a scheme to defraud, and you can defraud the market, you can be defrauding other investors who are not, in on your scheme, and therefore you're making money because you're shorting stock and they aren't. I think the SEC could set up a scenario where if you knowingly and intentionally engage in this practice that acts like a deceit upon others, yes, I think that could be securities fraud, which could be insider trading. It would be a new way to apply those laws, but we're also, in a new world.
We're in a new. I mean, just look at what's on our screen right now. We are in a new world here. That makes sense, though. That makes sense. And to be clear, no indication. We don't have any indication that anything illegal happened here. Correct. Kate, let me go to you on this. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week that E-Trade is considering kicking Keith Gill off its platform over his actions. He cracked jokes about it during the stream today. At one point, he deleted the E-Trade logo on his portfolio and then quickly put it back up there. What else do we know about this?
Yeah, Eamon. So he took some time during that live stream to talk about E-Trade, and this comes after the Journal reported, as you said, that they were considering kicking Keith Gill off of the platform. You're already seeing some backlash online, people on Wall Street Bets, on Reddit, pushing back and kind of going against E-Trade here. And it's sort of the same sentiment we saw 3 years ago, which I think is one of the takeaways as well, that sentiment of kind of the little guy, the retail trader, feeling like Wall Street in some ways is rigged, that it's sort of set against them and that they're trying to stick up for themselves against the hedge funds and against Wall Street writ large. That sentiment is still very much alive, and you saw that in some of the commentary in that live stream today. E-Trade is sort of now, instead of Gabe Plotkin and the hedge funds, E-Trade in some ways is representing Wall Street. And so they're seeing pushback. You saw Dave Portnoy, who 3 years ago was pushed off of and kicked off of E-Trade. It's still sort of ambiguous as to why he's getting behind Keith Gill. And so they're seeing sort of this PR issue where if they do kick him off, that is the downside, that they're supposed to be out there, available for retail investors, trying to sort of democratize the stock market. That's what all the brokerage firms out there really want to do, and that's what they are supposed to stand for. It is a bad look. We do not know what's going on the back end. There are certain obligations that brokerage firms have based on what the SEC would look into and say, hey, guys, you're supposed to prevent market manipulation. What do you know? But people I'm talking to say this is one of the choke points that the SEC could say. We're not necessarily going to go after Keith Gill because it is such a fine line. We don't necessarily know if we could win a case, and they don't want to be in front of a judge litigating internet culture and memes. And they don't want to be stuck in that position. The brokerage firms are one place where they do have jurisdiction. They do have oversight. And I'm told that's one place that they are going to focus. But E-Trade's in sort of a precarious position here where their name is coming up a lot in live streams like this. That they're now owned by Morgan Stanley. That's not what they want.
Yeah, you wonder if this is good publicity or bad publicity for E-Trade. I mean, Roaring Kitty was out there kind of poking them a little bit. But on the other hand, there were 600,000 people watching that, and a lot of those people are retail investors. Maybe that's good advertising. What do I know in this day and age? I admit that I am not the target demographic for some of this stuff. Herb, let me go to you on this. You've been watching this a long time. We saw this Frontier tweet today where they tried to kind of glom onto this, and the stock moved after Frontier tweeted that. What did you make of that play? Was that just good old-fashioned marketing, and kudos to them?
It was a cheap play. And when I first saw it, I even tweeted out to them saying, come on, you guys have been hacked. This can't be real. Now, again, like you, Eamon, but even a little more so, I am not their target market. So, I think the reality is, I'm thinking this has got to be a joke. And then one of my colleagues at Wall Street Beats who does consumer products, chimes in and goes, no, this was brilliant marketing, because I thought it was stupid marketing. She says, no, it's brilliant marketing because we're talking about it. But then the more you think about it, and you go to their website and Kitty comes up, but think about it. Let's just say their demographic is, say, 22 to 38 years old, because that's, a big part of their flyers. I'm assuming that's part of it. I still think they were, for some reason, whoever was tied up in this at the company in the marketing department must have thought everybody knows who Roaring Kitty is. And I guarantee if you go out there, everybody between 22 and 38 and either side, most people don't know who Roaring Kitty. Most people aren't sitting here watching it. Most people are not invested in GameStop. So I would say this backfired on them. They were involved in helping promote. I would say they were involved in a stock promote, a self-created event around it. And I think it backfired. Anytime you're trying to promote something, you see a stock and it goes down 40%, that's not good.
Herb, I've been trying to figure out, what is the precedent for this? Some other analogy somewhere along the way. Because we know there are a lot of people out there who talk their book, right, on television and elsewhere. A lot of people who show you what their balance is, tell you what they've earned. And there's a lot of people who follow big names on Wall Street. So how is this, fundamentally different from what we've seen in the past, other than the headband?
It isn't. And as we've discussed already on the show, the big issue here is always going to be, anyone coming out, whether they're long or short of stock, is not to intentionally lie or intentionally mislead people. So that's obviously the bar that's out there. So but this was a little different because you're reading so much into it. And by the way, one thing I pointed out here a few weeks ago is, options on this started to trade back in April. Long before any of this happened, you started to see options in GameStop. I would assume that's where people will go to look. Because, this is the downside of creating an event like this. And look, the upside for Roaring Kitty is if there are a bunch of investigations and nobody finds anything, the joke's on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Kate, look, you cover crypto, which is a world which is full of pump and dumps, full of weird things and weird behavior and weird characters. This seems like not the same, but maybe adjacent to that. And there is this sort of us versus them thing in the meme stock world and in the crypto world where you feel like we're striking a blow for the little guy, we're sticking it to the man. But you worry here that what's going to happen is the little guy is the one who ultimately is going to get hurt following some of this stuff right off the edge of a cliff. What do you think?
There's a lot of overlap with the type of trader that's going to go out and buy GameStop and likely going to go out and buy a meme coin. So something similar where you think of something like Dogecoin, where you might wring your hands and try to think about the fundamental value. It is a cultural thing. People want to get in on the joke. They are buying it. Yes, they're putting a financial stake out there, but it is more about being part of that and being part of this internet culture. So I would say that is still very much alive. And you also see it in crypto. So it's very similar in terms of why somebody would go out and buy there. I think the risk is there. And one of the differences with Keith Gill is that he was a former financial advisor. He is a financial professional in a lot of ways. And he's able to really toe the line here. And it seems like he was very much aware in the live stream today of, I don't have a lawyer, but I shouldn't say that. And this is not financial advice. So he seems to know the downside that we're talking about.
A lot of qualifications, a lot of hedging today, a lot of legal stuff going on. He had some boilerplate at the beginning, the disclosures at the top. I mean, it was fascinating. This is clearly a very smart guy who has thought through exactly what he's going to do, although he couldn't get his beer to show up on the screen today. So he's got to work on the technical piece of that. But a very weird day.
Strange day. He's sort of the everyman, and he really tried to portray that again. I would say the big difference between now and 2021 is the size of his stake. It's hard for people to believe that he's just your average Joe. He's one of the guys out there. And he's got a lot of money now. $300 million stake. So,
Kate, we got to go. Thank you so much for your time on a Friday night. Rebecca Fike, thank you. Herb Greenberg, thank you. And by the way, we reached out to Frontier for comments about their post. Here's what a spokesperson told us. The post is real. It was simply meant in good humor. We did not really halt sales. For anyone who didn't make money in the stock market today, they can always save on their next flight by flying Frontier. Smiley face. And yes, that smiley face at the end is real too. Marketing team working pretty hard over there today.
They have absolutely no idea how to comprehend what is going on here. Over the past few weeks, we've been hearing many in the financial press claim that there is not a good short squeeze setup in GME stock due to a lack of short interest. Now, after Keith's live stream, don't you think there are more shorts piling in than there were before the live stream? Could this be what Keith intended all along? Did he set the trap and shorts took the bait? I'll let you decide. In the clip you just watched from CNBC, I thought that the comment insinuating that Keith may be guilty of market manipulation merely due to his presence on social media was utterly ridiculous. If someone speaking publicly about a stock on social media is considered market manipulation, then by that same logic, wouldn't someone speaking about that same stock on national television also be considered market manipulation? Come on, let's be real. Keith, along with every single other person, has the right to speak his opinions, post memes on social media, and transparently share his holdings for everyone to see at the same time. Keith has no control over how people will react to his positions or his opinions. And quite frankly, the way in which people react to Keith's opinions is completely irrelevant in the discussion of Keith's innocence. As I've said previously, if Keith did not communicate with anyone privately before posting about his position online, then he should be in the clear. If the SEC were to penalize Keith because he simply expressed his opinion about a stock, then I guess they'll have to penalize every single other person who's ever appeared on CNBC to talk about stocks they were invested in. The thought that Keith could be penalized for simply expressing his opinions is insane. About E-Trade, if they kick Keith off their platform, it would be a blemish on their reputation that individual investors would never forget, and I would expect a subsequent mass exodus of individual investors leaving E-Trade if they kick Keith off their platform. Because if they can do it to Keith, then they can do it to you as well. As I've said before, the financial press can't stand to see GME rally, and I'll say more about that in a moment. But it makes my blood boil when I hear them try to manipulate public opinion by falsely insinuating that Keith could be shorting GameStop stock. How stupid can they get? Yes, I understand hedging, but this is a unique situation. So with that aside, what person in their right mind thinks that Keith would short a stock when he holds 120,000 call options in that very same stock? Of course he's not shorting it. It's as if they're trying to do whatever they can to turn public opinion against Keith and try to pin the fall in GameStop's share price on him. The financial press and their overlords on Wall Street would much rather that you focus on some random guy on the internet than consider the actions they engage in on a daily basis. The financial press cannot stand to see GME, AMC, or any other so-called meme stock rally because these stocks are representative of individual investors making their own financial decisions. They don't want you to make your own financial decisions. They want you to tune in regularly and buy whatever they tell you to buy, sell whatever they tell you to sell, and to do so when they tell you to. GameStop flies in the face of that. They cannot stand to see GameStop thrive because the stock is representative of the independence of the individual investor. At the end of the day, what individual investors want is simple, and nothing we're advocating for is beyond the realm of reason. Individual investors want a free, fair, and transparent stock market. We want large institutions to be held accountable for their actions. We want individual investors to have access to the same real-time data from exchanges' better private feeds, which is currently only available to the large firms on Wall Street. We want short sale data to be reported in real time. We want an end to excessive amounts of failures to deliver, and we want entities who fail to deliver on their obligations to be held accountable. We want an end to payment for order flow due to the insane conflicts of interest it creates. There's a reason why so many other countries have already banned it. We want the exchanges to be not-for-profit utilities as they once were. The exchanges becoming for-profit ventures has created so many conflicts of interest at the expense of individual investors. We want increased competition among market makers. And we want all of individual investors' orders to be routed directly to lit transparent exchanges rather than opaque alternative trading systems known as dark pools. Ultimately, it's simple. What we want is a stock market that offers a truly level playing field for all investors. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.